From Relay, this is Upgrade, episode 574 for July 28th, 2025. Today's show is brought to you by Fitbod, ZBiotics, Sentry, and ExpressVPN. My name is Myke Hurley, and I'm joined by Jason Snell. Hi, Jason Snell.
Hi, Myke Hurley. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm excited for today because you've been telling me you're setting something up, and I don't know what it is, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I finally did it. It's not quite as expansive as I had originally planned because reasons, but I hope it will still be fun when we get there. You'll be surprised, and I hope everybody will have a good time for the Summer of Fun.
Summer of Fun. But I have a Snell Talk question for you, and it comes from Stephen. Stephen wants to know, Jason, with as many books as you read, where do you find the time? Are you a bedtime reader? Do you prioritize finding time to read a little every day?
This is a great time for this question because I was just told by Goodreads that I've reached my goal for the year of reading 52 books.
Jason, it's July.
I don't like to set a goal higher than 52 because I don't like the idea of assigning myself more than a book a week to read, but I've already read...
How is it humanly possible to read more than one book a week? I get maybe one a year, if I'm lucky.
Well, and this is the Snell Talk question. So it's a few things. First off, I mean, I do read for the Incomparable. We do the all the nominated Hugo and Nebula nominated novels, but we also read all the Hugo short fiction, which includes like 5 or 6 novellas, which are short novels, and those are published as novels, and they count and they're in Goodreads. So one of the tricks is that some of them are shorter than they're not 1,000. I'm not reading a lot of 1,000-page tomes. To answer Stephen's question, I am a bedtime reader. One of the things that that is my consistent reading time is at the end of the day, go to, turn off the TV a little early, go to bed and have some time to read. Also, if I, wake up in the middle of the night, I'll read for a little bit before I go back to sleep. And then for me, the big one is, boy, I love to read on vacation. Like my memories of Hawaii, like so many of my fond memories of Hawaii are sitting on the beach reading a book.
Amazing.
Or by the pool reading a book. I love it.
I have a question for you, actually, a sub-question right now. So sometimes if I'm re-listening to a podcast episode or maybe an album, I can kind of remember where I was when I first heard it. Do you have that with books?
Positional memory, locational memory. I do, not as much as with podcasts, but yes.
Okay.
I do have some of that. I sometimes will think, oh, that's the book I was reading on that trip. Not always, but sometimes. Sometimes it's a memorable... I reread The Goblin Emperor when we went to Maui. I did. What I was going to say is, after years of focusing on how do I load movies and TV shows on my iPad so I have things to watch on the plane and all of that, I've come to realize that unless it's a very, very long flight, and even sometimes then, I just prefer to read on airplanes. I put in my AirPods, play some music, and I read until I get to my destination, and that makes me very happy too. So those are a lot of the strategies that end up having it be. I also say I am always amazed when I hear people talk about how many video games they play.
Right.
And you know what? I think it's the same. I always am prioritizing books and not video games, and other people prioritize video games. I also watch some TV shows and some movies and a bunch of TV shows, and that's a great thing too. And if I didn't do that, I could be playing video games or reading more books, but that's how I balance it out. But as much as I like the idea, this is a truth about me, as much as I like the idea of playing video games, I never play video games. That's just how it is, because especially ones that are longer, because honestly, when I'm playing a video game that's longer, I feel like I should be doing something else, which is probably watching a movie or a TV show with Lauren, or it's reading a book. So that's priorities. That's just how it is. So, but that's how I have read 52 books, and it's not even the end of July this year. We'll see how many I read in the end. And sometimes there are vacation spurts, right, where there's a bunch of them. Then there are also times where I'm reading something and I don't have a lot of time, and I'll go several weeks having not finished a book, and I'll be like, oh man, I'm really getting behind here. And then that always resolves itself. So, yeah.
If you would like to send in a question to open an episode of the show, it's very easy to do. Just go to upgradefeedback.com and send in your Snell Talk question, just like Stephen did. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen.
We've got some follow-up, an anonymous question.
Wait. Hold on. I can do something here. It's very special. Are you ready?
Okay, yes.
Follow-up.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
About 6 people understand that reference, but I appreciate all of them that do.
I'm like, that's the sound that I play when I'm circling infinite loop. Doing what am I doing in infinite loop?
Power sliding.
I'm power sliding in infinite loop. Yeah,
taking action.
It's a reference to the prompt number 2 or something. So just
something like that.
Take action.
An anonymous question, anonymous follow-up sender wrote in and said, when I worked at Apple, iOS employees who had permission to take an iOS device with an unreleased operating system home could expense a gun safe for the express purpose of storing the iOS device when not being actively worked on. If you didn't need good radio reception, you could also run a cable into the open safe, and you'd never have to remove the phone if you wanted to. Sadly, none of the approved safes could be locked with a cable running to the device.
Now, I'll just point out, if this sounds familiar, not only was this feedback so funny that I read it on the talk show last week, because I was on the talk show, and also ATP read this letter out. I was listening live to ATP while I was making dinner last week, and they're like, they're like, the gun safe. I'm like, the gun safe letter. But it's still pretty cool. This is the whole idea of how many safes got sold in Cupertino after this guy's phone was used by a malicious friend to reveal things to John Prosser. Anyway, allegedly. So fun anonymous feedback, regardless of the fact that this person pasted this into every feedback form everywhere. I love it.
Hey, it's good feedback. If you've got feedback like that, you share it, and then we'll share it. It reminded me of the requirements for the Vision Pro. Do you remember, like, if you were going to be...
Yes, it's got to be in a place that's independently secured and stored in a locked location, and it's totally like that. I would recommend that people who do this construct a whole room that is a vault, and then just go in there.
That feels complicated
I agree.
with California real estate costs.
Also, did I tell you? I don't think I've ever told you this story, but so we got a safe for some of our personal documents. Lauren thought it would be a good idea, and she says that so she was in charge of this project. So we got the safe and we put like our passports in it or whatever. And she says in hindsight, she's like, oh well, the safe says that you should probably, like, every few months open it up to air it out, which apparently we didn't do. And we live in a place that's actually fairly damp, especially in the winter. And our back bedroom where the safe was especially damp in the winter. And one day she opened up the safe and discovered that our passports had stuff growing all over all the pages.
Great. No, that's really good. It's what you're looking for.
Well, so she cleaned it up, and we ran it, set them on a dehumidifier and did all of this stuff. And they were still, and they have since expired and been replaced. But she was like, will they still accept it? And I said, of course they will, because although they look terrible, they look like they've been out in the bayou. They're entirely legible, and I think they have a chip in it that they scan anyway. And so it'll be fine. It'd just be embarrassing because you'd be like, let's bring out those filthy passports.
Moldy passports.
Moldy old passports. Anyway, so if you are going to use a safe for your stuff, open it up every now and then. And also, in hindsight, should have put a bunch of desiccant packets in there. But well,
silica do not eat.
Exactly. So we don't actually use that anymore. It was a nice idea, but because I think it was like also a fire safe or something like that. So if our house burned down, the documents would still be there. Now we have a go bag because we live in California, and so now everybody in California is supposed to have a go bag. So just in case something happens, could be anything: wildfire, earthquake, tsunami. No, who knows? Got a bag we can take. So anyway. I love the gun safe letter and the idea that you could just Apple. I mean, it's perfectly reasonable if you have confidential materials in your house.
They should provide them.
And if not, but yeah, they should just say, look, first time. Well, then let me get you your safe.
Yeah,
yeah,
you're gonna need it. There was more great discussion. You mentioned a talk show. You were on the talk show with John Gruber. I really enjoyed the episode. You and him got got a lot into more detail about the John Prosser situation, which is just, while wholly unfortunate for everyone involved, is going to be one of the kind of all-time stories, I think. Just
so.
for in our little corner of the world. It's just
In
like a
the lore.
fascinating thing that has happened and is not over yet. So.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso Season 4 has begun shooting in Kansas City.
Yes. Now,
okay.
should we do it now? Should we do U.S. Geography Corner now?
Please.
Okay, just really quickly, because Mike's original note here said has been shooting in Kansas, which I would say, Myke, is a perfectly reasonable thing for a human being to assume, that Kansas City is a city in the state, U.S. state of Kansas.
Yep.
It's time for U.S. Geography Corner, where I just say that the Kansas City that most people have heard of is actually in Missouri and not Kansas.
Yep.
But there is a Kansas City, Kansas. It is essentially part of Kansas City, Missouri, but across the state line. But the bulk of like all of the city stuff that we know of as Kansas City is in Missouri. And the people in Kansas City, I believe, call Kansas City, Kansas KCK. It's just like a shorthand for that. There are a bunch of suburbs of Kansas City that are in the state of Kansas. It's right on the border there. But this is an annoying thing that many Americans learn, which is you logically think Kansas City was in Kansas and it's in Missouri.
Because it is, right?
There is a Kansas City. Well, that's the thing. There is a Kansas City in Kansas, but it's not the one you're thinking of.
Right. Schrodinger's Kansas is what we're looking at here.
Schrodinger, Kansas. It's a little town outside of Salina, Kansas, right outside of there. This is the Wichita lineman went through there at one point. I'm just going to unload all of the things here. Anyway, so and I looked and I was like, is there a river that might be, because a lot of parts of the U.S. there's a river that's the state border, and I looked and there it is actually, believe it or not, Kansas City is built on the confluence of the Kansas and Missouri rivers. So, okay, it gives the states their names. However, the border between Kansas City, Kansas and Kansas City, Missouri, it's just a line. There's no river there. It's just a line. There is a river in town, but it is. And north of Kansas City, it forms the state border. But south of there, they're like, nah, we're just going to draw a line. So anyway, that's your Kansas talk for today. I look forward to the follow-up.
I have already had some great real-time follow-up from Caleb in the Discord. Not to be confused with Arkansas City, Kansas. I guess which could also be Arkansas City, Kansas.
Arkansas City, Kansas, yeah. That's true. Well, yes, we have a state called Kansas and a state called Arkansas that's spelled Arkansas. That's another.
I think it's Kansas. I think. And it's Kansas.
It's Kansas. Yes, Kansas City, Kansas. And I'll throw in, just for our friends in Missouri who are feeling really good right now, that I had a friend from elementary school who was in the Marine Corps, I want to say, and he was in Missouri, and his parents referred to him as being in misery, and I always thought that was pretty funny. So, yeah. Anyway,
from Variety.
So from
Ted
Variety, yes.
Returns to Richmond,
Variety.
taking
This
on his
is Ted
challenge
Lasso.
Yet, coaching a second division women's football team. Throughout the course of the season, Ted and the team learned to leap before they look, taking chances they never thought they would. Some of this we've heard before. Listener Larry sent in some local news from Kansas City, which shows more photos of the show being shot all over. Deadline reports that this is the beginning of another 3-season arc of the show, as some actors have signed deals for this time. And also, Ted's son has been recast.
Recast with an option to make the son he's recurring in season 4, but an option to make him a regular cast member in season 5, which is an interesting little quirk too. Yep,
because they needed a kid who could play football.
Oh,
that was why. That was why they did the recasting, because that's apparently going to be a plot point. Is that Ted's son becomes a football player? Like he gets good at it, I guess, in Kansas. Okay. Maybe he's coaching him there. So they needed someone who could conceivably play football well. But the actor apparently played Luke Skywalker. I don't understand. I don't even want to.
Oh, in the Obi-Wan Disney Plus
that
series,
makes more sense.
Like a little kid, Luke.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's just a detail. I don't think that they're bringing the Force into Ted Lasso, but who could tell?
You never know. Well, not now that it's in Missouri.
And of course, there's a ton of additional casting because it's a women's team, so they've
Yep.
got basically a new crew. So basically, all of this is to say, it very much at this point looks like Apple did in fact drive the truck of money to Jason Sudeikis' house, because it seems like there is going to be a 3-season arc, and the majority of it will be in the UK. You'd assume.
How about? I assume so, or like I said, or toggling back and forth a little bit. But yeah, I would assume so. So
if he's coming back to Richmond to coach the squad, he has to be here, right?
Right.
And that maybe this first season, my expectation is this first season is they all go to kind of like find him and bring him home.
And then they bring him back.
You know?
Yeah, that's true. And with the women's team, if they also have the men's team going on with Roy Kent and all of that in the background,
yep.
That might lighten the load on Jason Sudeikis a little bit.
Yep, he can be in fewer episodes for sure.
Yeah,
because they can kind of do the things, but they did what they needed to do.
They did what they needed to do.
This episode is brought to you in part by our friends at Fitbod. If you're looking to change your fitness level, getting started can be tough because everybody has their own path of personal fitness. And that is why Fitbod is perfect, because it will build a fitness plan that is just for you, but does it in an easy and affordable way. Fitbod uses the data that they learn from the way that you are progressing in your exercise journey to customize things to suit you. It's going to adapt as you improve. It makes sure that every workout remains challenging and will push you to make the progress that you're looking for. Fitbod will track your muscle recovery as you're exercising so you can avoid burnout and keep up your momentum, because they know that muscles will improve when they work in concert with the entire muscular system, so overworking some muscles while underworking others can negatively impact your results. So it will track your recovery and build the best possible workout by combining exercise science and AI. Fitbod have analyzed billions of data points that have been fine-tuned by certified personal trainers to make sure that you're getting the best exercise possible, and you're not going to get bored because the app will mix up workouts with new exercises, rep schemes, supersets, and circuits. When I get new exercises, I love the videos that are in the Fitbod app because it can teach me exactly how to do it, because I can watch a trainer do it and I can mimic how they're moving their body, and it gives me the confidence that I need to change up what I'm doing and try out new exercises. The app is so easy to use. You can stay informed with their progress tracking charts, weekly reports, and sharing cards that let you keep track of your achievements and your personal bests and share them with your friends and family. And it will integrate with your smartwatch, whether it's an Apple Watch or a Wear OS smartwatch, and other apps that you might use like Strava, Fitbit, and Apple Health. Personalized training of this quality can be expensive, but Fitbod is just $15.99 a month or $95.99 a year. But you can get yourself 25% of your membership today by signing up at fitbod.me/upgrade. So go now and get your customized fitness plan at fitbod.me/upgrade. Once again, that is fitbod.me/upgrade for 25% of your membership. Our thanks to Fitbod for their support of this show and Relay. So the public betas are out. And as just before then came Beta 4.
Right. Developer Beta 4, Public Beta 1, yes. They're here.
So we're in the Betails, Jason.
Woohoo!
Now, there's been a lot of talk everywhere about the betas, and we'll talk about some specific things, maybe touch on liquid glass or whatever in a little bit. But I actually wanted to talk about the betas by kind of framing it around the I don't know if you call it a preview,
first look, yeah,
that you wrote of macOS 26, because I think macOS 26 is getting lost in the conversation. I just feel like everyone's focusing on iOS, right? Because everyone's focusing on liquid glass primarily, and liquid glass is the most.
Also,
on
iOS is the most, right? Like, it's understandable. Sure. iOS is the most.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Just to set the table, so Dan and I have been working on these 6-color stories for weeks now, and holding them for public beta, which is generally what we do. It's like sort of like a first draft at our final review, but based only on betas. So we are withholding judgment on some stuff, and there's some features that we haven't gone into or we haven't been able to test. And then on Thursday, when they dropped the public betas at 10 a.m. Pacific, we posted 15,000 words of writing about 4 OSs: iOS, iPadOS, watchOS, and macOS. So I took iPad and Mac, and Dan took iOS and watchOS.
So let's talk about macOS. It feels to me like you really wanted to write the macOS one? Like, it feels like you had some stuff to say.
I mean, I always want to write the macOS one. I actually got an email from somebody who was like, I'm your age and I'm kind of like not that interested in all the moves of technology anymore. How do you do it? And I'm like, I don't know. This is what I do. And the Mac, and I'm especially always excited about the Mac. I mean, I have been working on new macOS releases, big articles about new macOS releases since 10.0. I edited Macworld's 10.0 feature, and I believe I've written since 10.1 on something. So it's a thing I do every year, and so I'm still out there doing it. That's how I survived the Syracuse review era, is that I wrote fewer words than him. So that was good. Yep. I was able to keep going. So yeah, it matters. And also I did Mac and iPad, and I think that Mac and iPad are having really, really interesting years. And, that means that I also left Dan with iOS, which is on one level the most important and also the most controversial. But like, I found it less interesting than what they did on iPad, and especially what they did on Mac. Cause I think there's a lot of really great stuff for Mac users this time around. In fact, arguably, it's one of the better macOS releases in, I don't know, pick your time period, in quite a while.
Why don't we start talking about the good stuff then? So,
okay.
I guess one of these things is Spotlight, right? It seems like you are very high on Spotlight in Tahoe.
Yeah, Spotlight has been getting better. And one of the things I wrote about is the Spotlight, when I started using LaunchBar, Spotlight wasn't very good, right? It was slow, and it was just a search utility. And I used LaunchBar to do like launching apps and then opening files and all sorts of other things that LaunchBar does, calculations and emoji and all sorts of other things the LaunchBar does. But I did that because Spotlight wasn't very good. But the thing is, in the background, Spotlight has been getting better. And I wrote a piece a couple of years ago that I keep referring to because it was that moment where somebody asked me, what are good utilities to install when you're a new Mac user for the first time, as somebody coming from Windows. And I realized that most of the stuff that I was relying on had over the years been... I was relying on it because Apple didn't provide those features, but over the years, Apple really did start providing most of those features. And that thought experiment sort of was reduced to clipboard history and a couple other things, but fairly minor things. So LaunchBar, which I was using as my launcher and as my clipboard history and a bunch of other stuff, like, it's still good, but I realized that with Tahoe, Apple has gotten to the point where I think it implements almost every single feature I was using in LaunchBar. And the only reason I was using LaunchBar really was familiarity. And I think fundamentally, if you can use the system stuff, you should. If there's not a reason for you to go beyond it, the system, Apple provided stuff is going to be, I don't know, there's something about having it just be the Apple imprint of it I think if you don't have to add another layer on, don't. And if you do, then do. But if you don't, then don't. So when I installed the first developer beta of macOS Tahoe, I didn't uninstall. I turned auto launching of LaunchBar off as a startup item, and I just decided to use Spotlight to see how I would do. And I haven't launched LaunchBar since then. So there are some things that I used LaunchBar for emoji insertion, which was really great because you could just type an emoji, invoke it, command space, and then type an emoji and press return, and that emoji was inserted. And I miss it. And I've used Rocket to do it in some apps. And then some people suggested just do command control space and type, and you can pick an emoji. I prefer to do it the Rocket way. There's some issues with Rocket getting in the way of certain things. But like that's sort of where I am right now. But other than that, look, Spotlight in Tahoe, it's got some rough edges. Like, they've got these quick keys so you can do actions, but you can't apply them to anything else. It does learn, apparently, like LaunchBar learns that if you type, a few keystrokes always to launch one app, like, it's going to learn that is an app you launch a lot, and that it's going to make it the first suggestion, so you can just type those keystrokes and hit return, right? Like, it does all of that stuff. But you can also explicitly attach letters to an action, and the concept of actions, which is app intents and shortcuts and other stuff, so that you have this area where you can basically say, do this thing, including, I mean, their demo was like send a text message from Spotlight or send an email from Spotlight. You could totally do that, or run a shortcut with input from Spotlight, which is something I can do from Launchbar too, but it's in Spotlight. That's pretty great. And the clipboard history is in there too. So
it felt like, from the way that you described it, like, for example, I could have I could add a Todoist task from Spotlight, for example, if I set it up the right way.
Yeah. Either from having a Todoist app intent or writing a shortcut that takes input and puts it where you want it to be. But yeah, that the idea that you can just do that straight from within Spotlight.
It sounds really good. Like,
yeah, it's good. And I don't have a problem with the clipboard history. Some people, like 8 hours, like I never go back that far in my clipboard history. And again, what I would say is, if you've got a reason to use another clipboard history app, you should, right? Like, that's great. There are lots of them, but like, I think there should be a fundamental level of clipboard history that's in the system. And next step is, it also should be on iOS and iPadOS, but it's a good first start to have it be on the Mac. And it's great. I use it, and I've been using it all summer, and it's really good. So, Spotlight, it's one of those things. It's been around a very long time. I looked it up since like Tiger or something. But it has gotten a lot better. Every year they make it better, and then this year they made it a lot better. So it's really good.
It's almost like a new thing this year, right? So it's like they were like, let's just start over, and what they came to was they made a state-of-the-art version of this idea. Right, we're like, we've had Alfred, we had Launchbar, and I think Raycast is probably what kicked them a little bit here.
Probably, and they've got I didn't even mention the concept of these sort of slash commands. So there's power user features inside this too, so you can very quickly, like, say, just show me, Word files or text files or PDFs or whatever. And it's got they're doing working with third-party data providers, so that theoretically you should be able to like type IMDb and hit tab and type the name of somebody, and it will not just like hit their search page, but it will show you the results below it, which is a thing that all these
really
launchers do. It's good. I mean, like,
they put some
real
real work into this, and like some real time and money into this. Like, this is a serious feature that's being added to the system that realistically is something that everyone can benefit from in some way, right?
I think so.
I think that's really cool. And then Shortcuts got a bunch of automation features finally on the Mac.
These are these old things that were called folder actions, but they're more, and they're directly kind of interfaced into Shortcuts. The way they did it is a little curious. You basically pick a folder or whatever and say, okay, or time, which you could do. But like, I really am interested in the folder action thing, because I was using Hazel for that. And again, Hazel is great, but like, if I could not use a third-party utility and just have it be literally, the one for me is that my Southwest Airlines confirmations, and our friend Dr. Drang wrote a little script that basically takes a Southwest Airlines confirmation and rewrites it, and then adds it to your calendar. And it rewrites it so that it's the ICS files generated by Southwest Airlines website they're kind of inscrutable. And so Dr. Drang wrote a version where it rewrites the title so that your code is in there. It adds alarms so that you can check in, and so it rewrites the ICS. I had a Hazel script that did that, and now I just have a shortcut that does it, that runs that script. And it was very easy. There are some quirks. It's the way they've done it is sort of like the action is passed as input to the shortcut. So you end up having to sort of like say repeat with all the changes in the folder. And then one by one you say, like, is this file a file I can act on? And so I have, there's a little extra overhead where I have to have a repeat loop in Shortcuts that says, is this an ICS file from Southwest Airlines? And then if it is, do this thing. But you know what? It works. I download the file and it goes boop and opens it in Fantastical. So like, it just works. And that was, I mean, automation has been on iOS for Shortcuts for a long time, but like the time-based stuff wasn't there on the Mac, and it took them their own sweet time to implement it. But by adding in kind of these event actions of things happening on your Mac, it is adding. I didn't even put this kind of automation in my list of like things that you would use a Mac utility for, but obviously Hazel is a great example of that. And Apple has just kind of like, again, I'm sure they're edge cases. The Sherlocking thing is always about Apple doing the middle 60% and leaving all the edges for the third-party utilities that have very specific ways that they do a better job than Apple. But like adding to the core experience, I think is really great. And the idea that you have a script that can run at a particular time, a shortcut that can run at a particular time and do a thing on your Mac, or when an action, like a lot of the Hazel stuff I've got is things like, if an image appears on my desktop and it's a HEIF, make it a JPEG, because I probably want to share it, and like I can turn that into a shortcut now, and
that's a good one,
right? Right. So it's stuff like that. So, it's great. Again, it is the Shortcuts app. My understanding is that the Shortcuts app is that they made it a little less Swift UI this year in order to make it more stable. And I think that's a good move. It has on the Mac, there was one of the developer betas, it was completely unusable. It is more usable now. It's still a little bit buggy. And I did in the article vent some of my frustration, I think, about the fact that like, it's great that they're adding features to Shortcuts, but like the app it needs to be better. The app needs to be better, and I'm really frustrated that the app isn't better. I know Federico has written about that a lot. Like there are lots of even programming-y concepts that the app just doesn't do, that Shortcuts doesn't do, and it's so frustrating because Dan Morin and I were talking about this, and it's like Shortcuts people know, because he said to me, "Yeah, I need to do this thing," and I realized I needed to do an if-else. And then we both just started laughing because it's like, you can't do it. Don't do that in Shortcuts. It's bad. Don't do it. It's like, well, that stuff should all be better. But anyway, it's good. So I mean, right there, you've got between Spotlight and Shortcuts, you've got two really good power user features. And then there's one more I'll mention really quickly. Okay. Remember. Because I did a quick version of this a while ago where I said I wrote 1,000 words about the menu bar, and you said, "What are you doing?"
Yes.
Like the transparent menu bar, I actually don't have any problem with it, but it has been readable to me. But they also added the checkbox that says just put a menu bar back there, and it's fine, whatever. But they added I'm going to put a pitch in here. Control Center on the Mac, which is sort of silly, is now not silly. Because they added this controls API, third-party apps can write controls, but more than that, so your third-party apps can put things in Control Center. Well, that means it's kind of like menu bar items, but in Control Center. But they also added the ability to add multiple pages of Control Center, and unlike on iOS where you swipe down to get more pages in Control Center, on macOS is more icons in the menu bar with an icon you select, and then you put items in it. And every control can also be put in the menu bar. So Apple's building a menu bar manager in front of us.
Yeah. And it's essentially you build a bunch of control centers, right? Like you build like four different control centers.
As many as you want, themed in the way you want, and every control also can be in the menu bar itself. And I think this is where they're going. Apple doesn't talk about future directions, but I think when I talk to them about this, I get the sense that I'm right here, that this is Apple's vision for what the future of menu bar items is. And I think it's good because it's really flexible. You can have them in a drop-down. You can choose which drop-down, or you can have them also appear in the menu bar itself, and that's all just allowed. It's a new API, and I'm sure there are limitations, and I'm sure that developers of existing menu bar things are going to be like, oh, we can't do this thing, and it's annoying. All that stuff's going to happen. But like in the long run, I really am heartened by the fact that Apple has taken a concept from iOS and then actually done what they should do with every feature they bring to the Mac, which is think about what makes the Mac good and how would this be best iterated for on the Mac, the best version of Control Center in a Mac context. And what they came up with was basically it's a menu bar manager, and you can have your icons where you want them to be. And that's great. The fact that they're trying to think about the future of the Mac in 2025 and a direction they want to push to have a more modern take on a classic Mac thing about stuff in the menu bar. Also, I will say when you've got lots of laptops and screens with notches, having built-in menu bar icon management is important.
It's kind of become key. Because everything, all modern apps want to go up there. They just want to go
I
up
know.
there and live there.
And there's
You
there's
can't do
too
nothing
much.
about it.
Whenever I'm on my laptop, I'm like, whoa, I've lost I've lost some
Even
icons.
on my display, on like my 27-inch display, if I didn't use Bartender, like there would be some apps that I would use where the menu bar, I'm using like Photoshop or something, they're gonna hit each other. Like the amount of crap that I have in the menu bar, that most of it I can't get rid of. Can I put existing menu bar items in? Right, they have to be updated.
Menu extras are not controls, so that's going to be and that's the sort of like the way forward. I think is start doing controls, stop doing menu extras.
Yeah.
And then that puts it in the user's hands and being able to say, I want this in the menu bar, I don't want this in the menu, and you can take things out of the menu bar now, but the idea that you can just sort of like, it's a completely flexible system where like put what you want in the menu bar, put what you want in a drop down, it's still quick and accessible for users. I think that's their vision of it. We'll see what happens in the long run, but I think it's a great idea.
Before we talk about liquid glass, I want to talk about the icon prison that Apple seems to have created, which this is the first I had seen of this. So I don't know how long it's been, basically forever. macOS icons can be kind of any shape. And in the last few years, Apple has, I would say, strongly encouraged developers to start using squares, like the rounded rectangles, round rects. They're not rectangles, but nevertheless, round rects that we have on iOS, and all of Apple's apps have started to be redesigned over time to be in the rounded rectangles. And we did our icon draft a couple of years ago where we looked at that in more detail, but they're still kind of encouraged and did not discourage a little bit of breaking outside of that round rect. But now if you do, it seems like they put you in a little box anyway.
Yep, into a dark gray prison. It's the I refer to it as the shame box. It is, look, Apple has wants all these icons to be redesigned with the new icon. What's it called? Icon Composer. Yeah, there's a new utility. It lets you have sections of your icons and those pick up glass effects. There's lots of reasons to build a new icon for macOS. No doubt about it. However, first off, most of the apps that are in the shame box for me are apps that are using a round rect and then have a little bit of it peeking out. Like Mars Edit, the nose of the rocket and the flame of the tail of the rocket just peek out of the round rect. Or BB Edit, where the BB Edit logo is inside a round rect and the edges just peek out. Or Audio Hijack, which has got a round rect with a waveform and then a microphone that's just peeking out the side of it. And then they put it in a box, so it's a box in a box. Look, I think developers have lots of reasons to update their icons. Like I said, Icon Composer is there. There's a new look. They want to fit in. I think these are all motivators. These are carrots for them to go. The gray box, the prison, is a stick. It's Apple shaming them and saying, if you don't do what we want, we're going to make your app look bad. And I'm okay with it in the beta. I really am. The beta is a good time to make a stark reminder to developers that they really would like them to move along with their icon design. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with Apple saying we strongly recommend that you use Icon Composer, you do a new version of your icon, it'll fit in better. Please do that. We want the users to have some sort of a unity here. Okay. And we can debate whether that's good or bad, but like as the platform owner, I am okay with all of that. However, when this ships, I think it's outrageous if Apple ships this with the shame box. Because I think for Apple to, I know that we've heard lots of stories of this, but like, it is such a betrayal of developers. Like, use the carrot. There's plenty of motivators for them to go. They're probably going to go. But to put a visible badge on apps that you think are laggards, when they may have plenty of reasons that they're not there on day one. To take their branding and make it look ugly out of like spite that they didn't do what you want, especially since some of these, it's like, maybe you want to let them be a little creative with their icon. Maybe the creativity and just breaking outside the norm might be good. Maybe it would show the way forward for you to revisit some of your choices about this. But to put them all in prison, like, I'm sorry. It's just one of those things that fundamentally, as a policy, is wrong. And Apple shouldn't do it. And like, you've got plenty of motivators here. You got plenty of carrots to offer these developers. The stick should be, put this box there as a highlight of like, you really should do this during the beta period. But you know, if you're defacing people's apps when this thing ships because they're not, you know, conforming to your rigorous standard here, like, come on, they need to. This is a bad policy. This is a bad policy to just say, do not diverge from the norm or we shame your app. I hate it. I hate it. There is no reason for them to be beyond the communication of it, which this gray box does in the beta period. But like, beyond that, there's no reason for them to be this petty about defacing people's apps without their permission because they didn't get with the program. It's gotta. I don't mind them doing it now, but they got to stop it. So if there's anybody out there listening who's a part of the macOS decision-making process, it's like, we get it. The developers get it. But if you let this run into the final release, you're just being jerks. You're just being jerks. Just let it go. You have enough leverage over them to shame them by having their apps stand out from the crowd in a way that makes them feel old. You don't need to put them in a gray box.
So have Apple updated all of their icons then? Because they're in the current version of macOS Sequoia, there are many of Apple's icons where they break outside of the rounded rectangle.
I think so.
Right? Like Preview, Automator, like they break out of the box. So my assumption is that they've squished them into the box.
Well, that's the problem is, they've redesigned them all to be, like Preview is just the loop now. It's lost. This is a whole other conversation about how so many of Apple's icons that used to mean something now don't mean anything, like the App Store, which is just 3 popsicle sticks forming an A. And it used to be that they were tools, and they were tools you used to build an application, but now it's just the App Store means 3 popsicles. And like Preview lost its image, so now it's just a loop. What's the loop used for? Who knows? It could be an upside down shot glass. Nobody knows, because it's lost all the context of what it was. And that's another issue with Apple's whole policy here. But again, what I would say is there's a way to get people on side, and some people are not going to want to go on side. But like, the other thing is, forgive me for taking so much time on it, but it's just like, this is unnecessary. This is just an unnecessary foul on Apple's part. But like, the apps that look the worst in the shame box are the apps that are trying to conform, because they've got round rects and they're just outside of the round rect. And so Apple's like, into the box with you.
Yeah.
Whereas the apps that look good in the shame box are apps like Acorn, which is just a picture of an acorn. And Gus Acorn, the developer of Acorn, made no attempt to put it in a round rect. And as a result, it's now just the acorn in a round rect. It actually looks fine, right? It looks fine, other than that Apple chose, obviously, this dark gray color as to be shameful. But the ones that look bad are the ones where it's a box in a box. So the ones that are the least conforming have the least damage. The ones that are trying to play ball but be a little bit different are the ones that Apple's really squashing here. I don't know. It's dumb. It's just dumb. It's unnecessary.
I'm going to read a selection of quotes from your article now,
yes,
which is about liquid glass and how it's implemented on the Mac. The new design on the Mac doesn't feel light and glassy as it does on iPhone and iPad. It's just a bit of a muddle. It feels like Apple has lost its balance in a quixotic attempt to make every app look like a photo editor. I also have to point out the hypocrisy of Apple claiming that it's building better frames for its users' content. That is not what's happening here. Apple is using our content as decoration for its interfaces, using blurred and distorted versions of our images and words to show off those glass interface elements. But I get the sense that this really is a design that's been thoroughly considered for iPhones. It's similar enough on the iPad to be in the ballpark, but that has not really been thought through on the Mac. So I remember leading up to the redesigns, your hope was that Apple had sat down and really thought about all of this, and they'd had the time, and they'd had the budget, and they'd had the the ability to consider what would a full overall Apple systems redesign look like. And your hope was they're going to think about all of them, and they're going to consider them all kind of
this is their chance.
Not equally, but like
together,
uniquely equal, right? So
yes.
that they're each going to be considered, but we're going to be kind of like looking at the overall. And I would get the sense, and I mean, you basically say in your article, you do not believe that they did this for the Mac.
It's a huge missed opportunity. It's possible. Here's something that comes up in all the drama about liquid glass, which is there's a real difference between design and implementation. You can have a design. There may be within Apple a very detailed liquid glass design comp for macOS, and it just hasn't been implemented. I don't know. There may not be. And it does very much feel like certainly the implementation is happening on iOS, and then the macOS is sort of half there. They've made some improvements over the last few betas, but yeah, it doesn't feel. I mean, I keep coming back to toolbars, but like toolbars are a real important part of the Mac experience. Toolbars in the Finder, toolbars in certain apps, and the toolbars in Tahoe are stupid. I mean, it's like gray, I don't know, shapes with just a generic drop shadow on top of other gray stuff. It doesn't feel glassy in any way. It feels unfinished. It doesn't feel like liquid glass. I feel like liquid glass on the Mac should actually be kind of like clear aqua, right? There should be like, these are glass elements sitting on top of a glass, like little glass bumps sitting on a glass pane, or little glass elements extruding from a surface. And instead, it's just like a floating oval with a drop shadow. And the drop shadow, I mean, again, I hate to, I hate to be this mean, but I'm just going to say it gives me strong first time using Photoshop vibes. Like when I started doing Photoshop and PageMaker and stuff like that, you're like, ooh, we can put a drop shadow. That'll solve everything. It's like, it's just the most basic, like, oh yeah, sure. You have no contrast. Stick a drop shadow in there. That'll do it. And that's what's in those toolbars on the Mac, and they look bad. The sidebar on the Mac looks better now. They fixed some of the issues there, but it's still, the whole idea is it's supposed to be glassy, but there's no real content under the sidebar in the Finder. I don't know. It's just it feels unfinished. It doesn't feel like they really thought out what liquid glass would mean on a Mac versus on an iPad or an iPhone, and so we end up with a look that's like, other than like the dock and maybe Control Center, like it's just there and it's different. The good news is, because I've heard people say, I'm not going to update to the betas, or maybe not even update to Tahoe because I've heard the design is so bad. It's like, it's not. It's fine. It's usable. It's just it's just an enormous missed opportunity, and it's frustrating because I feel like they had the opportunity here to define this concept for the Mac, and they just didn't. And so it's this kind of halfway interface. It's just it's super
it doesn't look massively different. Like it just kind of like on the face of it, but then they do. It's like they're trying to fake like layering and texture, as opposed to where on iOS it does feel like that there is something sitting on top of something. Where, as you say, what they've done is they've kind of separated the buttons from the window by just putting a shadow underneath them and putting them in a box of some description. It lacks the excitement, whether you like it or not, right? Like the Mac seems to lack the excitement that the other platforms have. Like even watchOS, right, seems to have more of a liquid glass feel to it, the actual kind of gloss of liquid glass, than the Mac does. And the places where the transparency shows up on the Mac, like say music, is some of the worst places that it looks in general.
Yes. I mean, the music app is a disaster. And then unfinished. You talk about unfinished, like you can color icons in the Finder, right, and put a glyph on them. But if you drag them into the dock, it doesn't pick up the color in the glyph.
No. And again, it is unfinished, right?
It is. It's a beta.
Say, like you said, unfinished. It is unfinished.
It's a beta, but we're at the point now where in this I get the opportunity to say these are problems that should be addressed, and
because Apple are happy to let the world use it at this point, right? Like this is a version where they've said, you know what, everyone can see this.
I'm not going to not call out problems in public beta, but I'm also, when I write about the public betas, I am open to the idea that it is a thing that is changing, and I am not going to make any final judgments about macOS Tahoe based on a beta cycle. However, when they ship 0.0, all judgments will be made, right? Like that's how that works, because then they're saying they're done. And I know software is never really done, but they're shipping a final product to everybody. And if some of this stuff is still there, then yeah, it will get called out. I mean, I didn't do a lot about liquid glass in overall, and I left that to Dan and iOS. But like iPadOS has some of that, and I basically said in iPadOS, in my write up there, I'm going to withhold judgment for now because it's changing so much. On the Mac, it just seems. I mean, the good news is the Mac is so the Tahoe updates are so good, and the interface changes are so minor that I think it's kind of a nothing. But it is unfortunate that they have not taken the opportunity. I can see where the priorities are. Not only are the priorities iOS and then iPadOS over the Mac, but also apps over core OS features. So like Finder needs some help. Finder, I was pointing this out last week on a couple of podcasts. Like the Finder toolbars, not only are the Finder toolbars a mess, but they're also bad because you can't add. They added quick actions a long time ago. So imagine how useful a Finder toolbar could be if you could put a specific like shortcut that acts on something, or quick action that acts on something that's in a file, and then you could click it and then click in the toolbar and it would do a thing. That would be so great. Well, quick actions are just not in the toolbar at all. You have to go down into the action menu, and then you will be, if you are lucky, you will then get a services drop down at the bottom. Okay, well that's disappointing. But here's the clincher: is so then I was like, okay, let's customize the toolbar. You customize the toolbar, and one of the first commands you'll see that's available to be put in the toolbar of every Finder window on your Mac is burn a disk.
Where else are you going to do it? You know what I mean?
I mean, I know, but I think my point is, it feels very much like this part of the Mac, which I would argue is a core part of the Mac, has not gotten any attention in a very long time.
The fact that button is there shows that no one's looked at it in a while with a critical eye, because it shouldn't be that clear.
They added new features over the last 5 years that aren't in there, but burn is still there. Like, and again, I'm not trying to say burn should be removed. If people are still burning disks, fine. It's just that it shows you like that's the kind of stuff that's in there is old stuff that's been there for 15 years, 20 years, and the new stuff they've added isn't in there at all. So that it shows me, and this is why I bring it up, is Finder to me is a core part of the Mac experience. Mm-hmm. But I think within Apple, they forget about it because it's not Photos and Music, which are apps that are across platform and matter. And then they make changes on iOS, and they're like, we need to change that on the Music app on the Mac too, or whatever. And I think that's how a lot of the sort of decision making. So like this menu bar thing is clever, but it's also motivated by how do we do Control Center on the Mac. So it's prompted by the existence of Control Center on other platforms pushing into the Mac, and whatever they did to files on iOS, that there's a disconnect there, I guess, with the Finder to a certain extent, because like I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I had a real, in the article, I make a joke of it, but it's really much like, where was I? Right. Toolbars. It's like, it's just kind of a spiral that I go in where I start to dig into some of this stuff that I think is core to the Mac. And it just looks like there's just dust there. Like nobody's really even paying attention to it. And it's too bad.
Just to wrap up our conversation on the betas for right now, with beta 4 and then with the public beta, liquid glass, they put the glass back in liquid glass, so it returned to transparency again.
Right.
We've spoken about it before. We had another long conversation about it on Connected, which I'll put a link in the show notes so people want to listen to. But I think it just shows the obvious is here, which is they are still working this out. And
Yep.
it's going to go all the way to the end and maybe...
I think so. And beyond, probably.
That.
Yep.
And Apple Intelligence news summaries are back. So in Beta 4, they make you go back through the setup of Apple Intelligence summaries. You have to re-enable them, even if you already had them enabled. It actually also resets your preferences, which I found to be annoying. So like I'm now, because I use this feature, but I don't have it on for every app. So I'm now having to turn it back off again for the apps that I had it off for. But with this, news and entertainment returns. My expectation is there is a new model powering this, which is why everything got reset again.
Sure.
And they have so the news and entertainment that got turned off when the BBC was complaining, rightly so. You can now turn it on again. If you want to turn it on, when you tap it, a big red text appears which says, summarization may change the meaning of original headlines, verify information. And I noticed for any app that is in the news category, the news or entertainment category, it says in caps, summarized by Apple Intelligence at the bottom of the notifications, which it doesn't for other app types. And I also got for some apps a prompt which says continue summarizing groups of notifications. Summaries may contain errors. So they're doing a lot here.
This is what they're trying to do. Yeah.
But it kind of makes me, why are you doing it then? Like, why tell me so many times that there's going to be errors or I need to check the information myself? Just don't do it for news and entertainment apps. Just don't do it. And then you don't have to, because all of this, it doesn't make me feel like the intelligence is intelligent. It undermines the entire product. Right. So just don't do it for these app types. And it will be fine. And
you can see how torn they are about the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
They're like, well, we need to do this, but we also don't like it. I was like, okay, all right.
Just keep doing it for messaging apps and stuff like that. Like, just don't do it for news apps. Like, I would argue that news apps are not the right avenue anyway, right? Like, for example, Overcast is one where I turned it off because my podcasts are so different that when you condense them, it doesn't make any sense. Like you end up with, for me, I end up with like political news, video games, and tech news in one summary, which is, it just doesn't make any sense when I see it that way. So it makes more sense to me to just not do it for that, but it's like contextual summaries around like a certain conversation that's happening in a messaging app makes infinitely more sense than trying to summarize a bunch of notifications for things that are completely different from each other, which is what you get in the news and entertainment category and less in the other categories. So they should just give it up. Because I tell you what will happen, Apple, it doesn't matter what you do. The BBC is waiting. They want this to happen again so they can write about it again, and then you're right back in it again. And so then what? You know?
Well, then they'll say, well, we disclaimed it and we give people options to turn it off, and some people find it useful. And
but Jason, the BBC will say it's not good enough. We all know
well,
this, right?
I know, but I think that maybe they'll say we think, but Apple can also, the reason Apple backed down on the other one because they realized that it wasn't good enough. But here, I think what they'll say is exactly that. They'll say, yeah, but it's marked as us, not you. People can turn it off if they don't want it, but some of our customers find it very valuable, and that's why we offer it. Yep. The end. And if the BBC wants to keep complaining, Apple just, brush off their shoulder and move on. Like, that's
I mean,
how
it's
Apple
one of these things. It's
rolls.
like, I agree with you, but this is different to me. And like, if they can say that now, but then something terrible will happen again, right? And then they're going to be really embarrassed again.
Maybe.
Like what happened the first time, right? Which is just like, what does it say? Like Luigi Mangione killed himself.
Yeah.
He didn't, right? And so, like, how
No.
many of these stories do they want to be out there? Because news agencies will keep writing about it because it's kind of like sport for them in a way. I think, right?
We'll see.
To write about that kind of stuff.
I think this has got a chance of.
Just
I think what
dying
Apple's
down.
built in is deniability to say, look, people can turn it off. It's marked as us and not you. We give everybody the opportunity to keep it or turn it off as they go. Many of our users find it valuable. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what they'll say, and then that'll be it. But you can see Apple's fundamental ambivalence about this feature by the fact that they have to ship it, but also have to disclaim it in 10 different ways.
This episode is brought to you by ZBiotics. Let's face it, after a night with drinks, we don't all bounce back the next day like we used to. A lot of us have to make the choice between fully enjoying the night or making sure we have a good next day. But thankfully, pre-alcohol is here to help. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets involved in a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this product down. Just remember to take pre-alcohol as your first drink of the night and drink responsibly, and you'll be feeling your best tomorrow. So for me, I like to have a fancy cocktail every now and then, but over the years, the types of drinks that I can drink have changed. Like, I have always loved bourbon. But it came to a certain point in the last few years that if I had one old-fashioned, I just wouldn't feel great the next day. And it's something that I miss because I enjoy this drink a lot, but then I just couldn't have it anymore. Well, this weekend, I took some ZBiotic. Like, I drank a ZBiotic. I had an old-fashioned, and I wouldn't have known the next day. And it has been years since I've been able to have that feeling. So I felt better, and I could have the drink that I wanted. The final days of summer are here for you to enjoy, whether you're heading to the beach, camping in the woods, or squeezing in one last vacation road trip. Don't forget to bring ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink. Drink a pre-alcohol before drinking and enjoy every day of summer to the fullest. Go to zbiotics.com/upgradefm to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use the code upgradefm at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, go to zbiotics.com/upgradefm and use the code upgradefm at checkout for 15% off. Our thanks to ZBiotics for their support of this show and all of Relay. All right, so it is the summer of fun.
Summer of fun.
And we have something happening right now. I don't know what it is, so why don't you set it up for me?
All right, well, this is what I'm calling the Streamin' Sounds of Summer.
Okay.
And I'm going to play some sounds for you. And I want you to attempt to identify where they come from.
Okay.
All right. So
okay.
I think what we should do here is I'm going to play them in an order.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to have you guess what they are, and then we'll go back and we'll we'll grade you.
Is it one? Are you going to have to guess one at a time?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But you can go back. You can go back because
okay,
we'll lock
there might
it
be
in.
some I'm going to want to hear.
We'll lock it in at the end. And some of these.
Right.
So my inspiration here is that I feel we live in an area where everybody's got a thing, and they all sound exactly the same.
Okay. I don't know what that means.
Well, you'll hear it. Okay, are you ready?
Okay, yeah, I'm ready.
Are you ready? Can you all right. Here we go. Any idea?
I have no idea what that is. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are these sounds any way related to each other? Like, is there a theme?
Most of them are things you might find while watching TV, but not all.
Okay. All right.
Because I feel like we live in the era of that.
And these are all modern? Like, these are all now?
Yes.
Oh, no. They're all now? Okay.
Yes.
Give me the second one, because I have no idea.
Okay.
What
one will say no idea. I didn't think you would, but I wanted that was like a trial.
It reminded me of something like a PlayStation thing, but I know it's not a PlayStation thing.
Here's number 2.
Oh my god, I know this one. I think. Is it like LG or something? Is that like the sound the LG TV
We'll
makes?
just move on, but I'm
This
taking
is
notes
great.
of what
Oh
you're
my
saying
God,
here.
This is fun. Okay.
Okay. Here's the next one. This one I think is the easiest one, but just for everybody.
Okay, this is hilarious because when you take these things out of their
Context.
because I know that sound. I know that sound intimately. I have no idea. I can't. I know that noise. Oh, that's Disney Plus. That one's Disney Plus. I'm sure of it.
Okay.
I'm sure of it.
Okay. The snap, I think, is the thing that gives it away.
Yeah.
All right. Here's
Why
the
do
next.
they have the snap? What is that?
I don't know.
Why does the Disney Plus? I mean, someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but
I think the snap is what
Disney-
makes the plus. It's a magical thing that makes
Yeah,
the plus.
but Disney have so many iconic sounds. Why does this not use any of them? I don't understand it.
It's Thanos. He killed half the Disney
you
universe.
go. There you go.
That's
well,
what
that
it
is
is.
actually it. Like Disney Plus killed half of Marvel's bottom line, and
Yep.
it's the Thanos slap of.
That's it.
All right.
All right. Here's the next one. Get ready.
Oh God! Hang on. This is so annoying.
Yes, that's why I'm doing
like,
this. Because we live in. I came to the realization that they're all exactly the same.
when that one,
Everybody's
that
got to
one
have a
sounds
chime.
like a documentaries thing. Like when I hear that, I'm like, oh, that one's like documentaries. Oh God. Okay. I feel like I only have one of them. Like
Okay.
I am convinced.
That's
of
fine.
Disney
We can go back
Plus.
through once we cycle through them.
Yeah.
I'm going to write that down as a documentaries thing, and we're going to move on to number 5. Here it is. This might also be the easiest one. I don't know.
HBO. That one. That is actually the easiest one. I was waiting for that one. You know, like
All right.
that one. I know.
Sure. Okay. Here's the next one, number 6.
I feel like I've never heard that one in my life.
Maybe not.
I had no idea what it sounded like. It was a car. Like I don't know what that was.
Yeah. This is, I mean, these could be, I mean, one way I could put this is like it's streaming services or cars. You decide, which is it? This one actually is probably the easiest one because, again, the easy ones are ones that stand out a little and are not just like every other chime
HBO,
that's out there.
Whatever, because HBO, no one would attempt to make something like the HBO sound because it's actually just it's a not pleasurable noise.
Yes. Okay.
Netflix.
Yeah, that's the Tadum.
Because that one is more than just the noise, right? Like this is what I hope Disney would do. Where like Netflix have made their noise part of their brand. And like I want Disney to do it the other way around.
It has a name. It's the Tadum.
Yeah, Tadum. No, I don't know that one at all. I've never heard that one. I don't think I know. Anyway, I feel like I've never heard that one. There's so many here.
Some of these, there's no way you can get them, but I just am enjoying because they all sound the same. Here is number 9. Your laundry is done.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is.
Okay, here's number 10.
Oh, that's the Vision Pro startup sound.
Oh, you got it!
I turned on my Vision Pro today.
I was hoping that there might be some confusion about whether the Vision Pro. Okay, so I'll just back up and say my inspiration for this is I heard the Vision Pro startup sound and I thought, oh my God, everything has one of these things now. This vaguely atmospheric, like ooh, bing kind of sound.
Like the Apple TV Plus one is very similar to that as well.
Speaking of which, number 11.
Yeah. I gotta say, I'm maybe biased here, but that's a good one.
It's
like
pretty
as
good.
far as these things go, because they are actually evoking something, right? Like it's the Mac startup sound.
Yeah. Here's number 12.
The Mac startup sound.
Yeah, that's it.
Can you play those in a row, like 10, 11, 12?
There's a bunch. That's the Quadra.
Give me the
AV,
Vision
but...
Pro one as well.
Oh,
That is also a good noise, but
Yeah.
it's not as good
It's
as
a nice
the other one.
noise.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to go through these one more time?
Okay, so that's all of them.
That's all of them.
All right, yeah.
That's all 12.
Give me the ones I don't know again.
Okay. Here's number 1.
Yeah, no, I don't know that one.
I think it sounds perfectly like all of them in the sense that it's sort of a
yeah,
and then like a
pa, pa, pa.
and that's
I'm
it.
gonna say that's National Geographic.
Okay. You said, I know this one. Is it from an LG appliance to this?
See, I do feel like I know this one, but I can't put my finger on what it is. But like I feel like this one I've heard before.
Okay. Here's number 4. A documentaries thing, you said.
See, I know
You
I've
have heard
this.
that. You have heard that.
Can you play it again for me? Oh, this one's gonna annoy me.
Yeah, and this is part of one of my inspirations for this is that sound, but in conjunction with other sounds, including this one, number 6. Now, I'm going to play these in conjunction because this really was where this whole idea started. Actually, was I turned on a TV show, and when I turned this, every episode of this particular TV show that I watched, this is what I heard. Every time it played Sting 1 and then it played Sting 2 twice with their little animation. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why so many little atmospheric chimes in the world? So do you have any thoughts about number 6?
Is it Paramount Plus?
It is not. In fact, Paramount Plus doesn't have a sound.
Oh.
I don't think so. At least not in my apps, it doesn't have a sound.
Oh, play that one that I was just play the other one. It's Hulu. Or
It's
FX.
not Hulu.
FX.
It's FX. It is.
Yeah, that's
okay.
what I meant.
So it's FX, and I'll just reveal it now. Number 6 is Hulu.
Okay, I don't get.
And
Hulu.
if you play a show on Disney Plus that's from Hulu, that's from FX, it decides we're playing them all. Sometimes twice.
Wow.
I'm like, why do I need Hulu and
Wait,
FX
why
and
does it
FX
play it
again?
Twice?
I think it was an error. I think it was saying like, I think what they had is they had the FX baked into the show, and then they also had a pre-roll of the FX because it was FX content on Disney Plus, and they fixed it. I don't see the double anymore. But
Okay.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, the FX one, I know that one from, like, yeah, I watch some shows that are on. I watch them on Disney Plus, but we still get the FX branding. But Hulu, we don't get that. Like,
you don't get the Hulu branding.
We have like a Star. It's like Star, which I don't know why that's a brand that exists.
Yeah,
like,
some of these are going to be British
that.
versus U.S., but the Americans are loving it because this is, again, they're all the same. So this is another one you'd never heard of. Just giving you one more go. So what I'll say about this one is, although it's generic, it has 3 notes instead of 1, which gives it a little personality. So I like this one.
It's a little cheery.
Yeah.
What is it? I don't know.
That's Peacock.
Okay.
Which is NBC, which famously NBC has 3 tones in its ding 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 GEC, which stands for the General Electric Corporation, I guess. Anyway, it's I don't know if that's true or not, but anyway, do do do. So it goes do do do. It's like an inversion of the NBC theme.
Yeah.
All right, here's 9.
This sounds like a television turning off.
Oh, the irony of that, because this is longtime HBO rival Showtime.
Ah, okay.
Which you don't get. You got the Vision Pro. Okay, the ones that we still haven't resolved are back at the beginning. So there's this one, number 2. Any last guess?
Is this a TV network thing?
It is.
Is it Discovery?
It's not. It's Prime Video. These are the cheery sounds of Jeff Bezos and Amazon coming into your house.
Prime. They should be doing a better job than that.
They
Like,
should. They should.
There should
Among
be like
all
an
of the
Amazon
chimes,
sound.
they
There
should
should be a sound.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it should just be Alexa telling you something. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. That leaves us with this one. And you're never going to get it, but I'll just say, when you made that aside about how these almost sounds like a car, that's the default sound that plays when you get into my car. That's the Chevy Bolt. Which is another part of my inspiration here, which is, why are these in cars too? Why does my car have a startup sound? Fortunately, you can turn it off, and I
Cars have startup sounds.
And there's also an alternate version that plays sometimes, which is this one. But again, it's all just there's a shutdown sound too. It's like Chevy decided, getting in and out of your car should be a fun experience where music, little chimes play, like you're, watching a TV show or something.
That's bad.
And Myke, that brings us to the end of the Streamin' sounds of the summer.
This episode of Upgrade is brought to you by Sentry. Okay, founders, it's time to be honest. How much time is your team wasted on debugging? If you're like most startups, this is way too much. Your team should be focused on shipping features and not chasing down bugs, and that's where Sentry comes in. It's a real-time error monitoring and tracing platform, so you know exactly when something breaks, where it happened, and why. No more 1 a.m. Slack threads or digging through endless logs. Now here's the game changer, Seer, Sentry's new AI debugging agent. It's like hiring an engineer who already knows your entire codebase. Seer finds the true root cause 94% of the time and can even generate merge-ready pull requests plus optional tests to prevent regressions. The bottom line is you ship faster, your team isn't drowning in bug alerts, and instead of grinding through logs, your developers are back to building the product. And I know that is super important to the developers that I am friends with, the developers that I speak to. They want to be building new features for the apps that they enjoy, the apps that they love working on, rather than digging through errors and bugs. Like if you find something you want, if something happens, you want to fix it, but being given the ability to quickly find out where that problem is fantastic. And I, as a user, I much prefer a bug-free experience when I'm using apps. It's important to me in the apps that I choose to use. I want performance to be great. I don't want to be bumping up against things that are broken, and that's what makes Sentry and Seer so awesome. The good news is new users will get 3 months free of the team plan, which covers 150,000 errors. Click the link in the show notes or go to sentry.io and use the code UpgradePod. That's SENTRY.io and the code UpgradePod. Or just click the link in the show notes. Our thanks to Sentry for their support of this show and all of Relay. It's rumor roundup time, Jason.
Yeehaw.
Taiwanese research firm TrendForce is corroborating reporting from Ming-Chi Kuo that the folding iPhone will have a 7.8-inch inner display and a 5.5-inch outer display. I thought this was particularly interesting because that would make the outer display the size of the iPhone mini.
The iPad mini?
The iPhone mini, the inside display. Sorry, the outer display.
The outer display would be the size of an iPhone mini. How soon I forget my classic iPhone mini.
Because I was like, what is it? I was trying to get a context of what is a 5.5-inch screen. And I was like clicking through old phones on the iPhone Compare.
It's probably taller and narrower, but I don't know. It's interesting.
It depends on the route that Apple chooses to go, right? And so the last kind of screen of that size was a 5.4-inch screen on the iPhone 13 mini. Everything else is like 6 inches and above.
All right.
So who knows? I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see what screen Apple prioritizes, because the shape of each screen differs massively depending on whether you want something kind of squarish on the front, which means you get something kind of squarish on the inside, or you go with something tall on the front, which means you get something kind of like less tablet sized on the inside. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. But I just thought that was really interesting. Also, recently Ming-Chi Kuo said that he expects the folding iPhone to have Touch ID and not Face ID, which I think is curious. I would be as a user, frustrated if I spent what will probably be
Couple
somewhere between
$1,000.
$2,000 and $3,000 on this device, and it had Touch ID.
Yeah, but if they can't get Face ID in there because of the size of everything, I could see it.
yeah.
Also, there is this, which is you'd need to do it twice.
My kind of feeling on that is
if you got
like,
it unfolded,
that's not my problem. You know what I mean? It's
Okay.
like, so
All right.
you work it out. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, how long have you been doing Face ID? You can't shrink it down by now. That's kind of how I.
Well, and it's expensive, so you have to, and you have to put it on twice because you got to be able to authenticate when it's folded out too.
Still, you know
Okay.
what I mean?
Fair
Like,
enough.
If I'm going to be paying the price of 2 iPhones, I want the functionality of 2 iPhones. Give me
Okay.
2 Touch ID, because they're going to put a camera on the
Or
inside.
2 Face IDs, yeah.
Right? Like Face
Yeah,
IDs. They're going to
sure.
put a camera on the inside. So I want, even if I had two dynamic islands, give me 2 dynamic islands. You know, work it out.
Okay.
Mac Rumors is reporting via an anonymous source that the iPhone 17 Pro could feature an 8 times zoom lens as part of the overall upgrade of the cameras that will be 3 48 megapixel sensors, and that the telescope lens, what do they call it? Periscope lens, the Apple have a name for it. Tetraprism.
Tetraprism. That's it. Yeah.
Will be 8 times, and that the Pro iPhone could feature more Pro features in the Final Cut camera app as part of a major upgrade.
Okay.
This rumor aligns with something Mark Gurman had said previously, that Apple wanted to push further into the creator space and encourage people to be only using their iPhones for creation, not using external vlog-like cameras, and that they might bring some features to maybe in a big overhaul of Final Cut camera for that.
Sure.
I expect maybe they're feeling some pressure from companies like DJI, like the Osmo stuff. People seem to really dig, and maybe Apple wants to kind of take some of that mind share back. That there would also be a second button on the phone to assist with camera control features. So there would be another camera control button. And that the copper color rumor is accurate. Apparently, according to Mac Rumors, this person works at a production company that is said to be working on a commercial for the iPhone.
This person's probably going to get fired, but
yeah.
Okay. I mean, the second button, I don't know about that. And this is an anonymous source that wasn't corroborated. I don't know. Extra camera control buttons, I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. I'll believe it when I see it, or when somebody more accurately reports it.
Yep.
But okay. I mean, never bet against Apple improving camera things.
Yeah, the camera control button is where this falls apart for me, because it's like, I feel like that would have gotten out by now through the case leaks and stuff.
Yeah,
and like,
yeah.
nobody has made any kind of hint.
Yeah,
that
this feels like a
there's something going on.
misunderstanding.
Yeah, maybe they misunderstood what the action button was. I don't know. But the other parts of it, I guess, like, sure, at some point, the tetraprism lens is going to increase, right?
Sure.
And if Apple is changing up the way that this phone is going to look, right? Like, there's that bigger camera bump. Maybe that they do that so they can get a bit more space going on for that lens to be further. And the idea of them adding functionality to the Final Cut camera app as part of a push for creators, I can see there being some sense in that. Like, that would make sense to me. Whether they do it, I don't know. Mac Rumors are also reporting on some imagery and code found in watchOS 26 that alludes to something like a sleep score coming in a future update. So it looks like this feature would look at the sleep data that you had from the previous night before and give you a score for how you performed overnight. That's how they read it. What I would hope this actually is a little bit further than that, where it's some kind of like effort score for the day. So taking your sleep data and your vital information and giving you a score for your how you should perform in a day. So like Whoop does this, Sleep Plus Plus has this, where they are taking a look at a bunch of different data points and saying, like, this is your target for your score of the day, and it should be able to answer why you either feel better or worse, and maybe could indicate what your exercise level and activity level should be for a day. Like, I don't really know why I would need a score out of 100 for my sleep. Like, I don't. That on its own is not as useful as then taking all the other information that Apple has about your vitals from the Vitals app, and like putting it all together. That's what I hope this is, and this to me feels like something that might just be as part of the Apple Watch like event, like part of the event where they unveil it there, because it's like just doesn't really need any testing as such for developers. I guess this is like a system feature. Maybe it is somehow tied to a new sensor of some kind. I don't know. Like, I don't know if maybe they would want the blood oxygen thing to be handled before they do something like this. I'm not sure. But yeah,
I don't know. It's also possible that this is one of those features they didn't announce at WWDC because it wasn't going to be ready in time for 0.0, and they have that policy. So this might be an example of seeing about some of this stuff happening down the road.
Yeah,
could be a watch launch thing as well. My only hesitation here is I think Apple cares about doing sleep features for people who have sleep issues, and you're trying to turn it into something else. And that thing is probably valid too, but if the goal here is to get people to sleep better, then they might not want to couple it with exertion and vitals and things like that to make a bigger score.
Why does the score out of 100 help you sleep
I don't
better?
know. I don't know.
I'm not sure that it does. So, I'm not saying this is one or the other. I'm just thinking you can look at this and I think draw the same conclusion. The file is called like watch focus score, and it's a number. And right, like if you look at the imagery that Mac Rumors has, like it's all they've got, right? It's like an image with a number on it and a bunch of rings around it, and some iconography that's used next to it. One of them is a thermometer, apparently, and the file is called watch focus score. So they've said that this is a sleep scoring. I think they're wrong.
That's a broader.
I think this is a broader thing because
and this is
they have the vital stuff. Like,
right.
It's all just there.
Right.
I think that they have this information, and this is the conclusion that seems to have been drawn from Mac Rumors. My read on this information that they have provided, unless they have something more, is that this is actually more of an effort score. So, like a readiness thing.
Let's do a little play acting here.
Yeah.
Hey, Myke.
Hi.
I had a really good night last night sleeping. I killed it.
Okay. Amazing.
Got an 83.
Congrats. I'm happy for you.
That's it. That's the
that's the action.
It's a got an 83. That was the big punchline there. Yeah. See?
Well, so happy for you.
Amazing.
Really happy for you. I only got 86.7. We all know it's worse to get higher.
Points. Wow.
Yeah.
Out of 100 with a decimal.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too many. That's too fine grained. Thousand point scale. Too fine grained.
Third part, yeah.
No.
It's time to lawyer up, Jason Snell.
All right, clunk, clunk.
Reuters is reporting that the recent changes Apple made to the App Store terms would be enough to satisfy EU regulators.
We did it, everybody.
They did it, everyone. I would hope at some point there will be some clarity given around. I feel like nothing's changed unless no one's talking about it, but I feel like since we last spoke about the changes, the new like tiered system, like that was like the end of it. There's been nothing else, and that is peculiar to me, but this will suffice for the DMA, even though we don't know anything about it. So, congrats, everyone. Mission accomplished.
Yeah. Hooray.
And Jason, it's happening again. Britain's Competition and Markets Authority has ruled that Apple and Google essentially have monopoly power over the app distribution on their platforms and is beginning to make recommendations and requirements.
Oh, boy.
The CMA, they're doing this kind of rolling this out slowly. So the CMA's first things that they're saying should occur is they want app review to be more fair, objective, and transparent. They want Apple to do a better job of explaining delays in review and maybe allow for a dialogue to occur between developers and Apple. Additionally, they would like some kind of explanation or something to be published, like a methodology for how App Store search ranking is worked out. The CMA is also going to further investigate App Store steering and whether alternate app stores and or payment processing would be required in the UK, and that is expected next year. Apple have said all of the things that you'd expect them to say about protecting the privacy of users in the UK with this new quote that I wanted to read. And force us to give away our technology for free to foreign competitors. So, okay. Just chill out a little bit. All right, like we're not at war here. I don't remember them saying that about the EU, but they probably did. But I'm just maybe a little bit saltier about it because they're throwing that towards my great nation. So it's happening. Britain is like, hey, we'll have some of that. And as you've said many times on this show during this segment, the problem for Apple is all of the subsequent things that occur. If the CMA decides that they want alternate app stores and payment processors, they just point to the EU and say, just do it like that. We know you can do it. You don't need to argue with us. You can't argue with us. We know you can do it. We want you to do it like that. And it becomes much harder for Apple to make any kind of argument about what they can and can't do when they've already done it somewhere. So it just essentially at that point becomes we'll have some of that. So we'll see what happens. This episode is brought to you by ExpressVPN. A few decades ago, it was super easy to be a private person. Now we're in an era where everyone is online, which means a lot of your browsing history and other data is available to data brokers. To keep your data private when you go online, you can turn to ExpressVPN. One of the easiest ways for data brokers to track you is through your device's unique IP address. But when you use ExpressVPN, the IP address is hidden, and that makes it very hard for data brokers to monitor, track, and monetize your private online activity. ExpressVPN encrypts 100% of your network traffic to keep your data safe from hackers when you go online on public Wi-Fi, and it also works on all of your devices, your phones, laptops, tablets, and more, so you can stay private on the go all in one tap. It's super easy to use ExpressVPN. I love it most on my Mac, actually, because it's just up in the menu bar, and I can just click it, and I can press one button, and I'm connected. And it's great when I'm using my computer on networks that I don't control. I use ExpressVPN. I recommend ExpressVPN. VPNs are very popular here in the UK right now, and so if you're looking for a VPN, I would say check out ExpressVPN. You can protect your online privacy today by going to expressvpn.com/upgrade. That's expressvpn.com/upgrade, and you can get an extra 4 months of ExpressVPN for free. That is expressvpn.com/upgrade. Thanks to ExpressVPN for their support of this show and all of Relay. Let's finish out today's show with some Ask Upgrade questions. Our first question comes from Andrew. What is the over-under on updated Apple TV hardware this year?
I don't know how to set that, but Gurman says probably, so probably.
Yeah. This has been going since like January with the rumors, I think, that there was going to be some kind of bump to the Apple TV. The expectation is what you'd naturally assume, spec bumps, right? Chips and that kind of thing. But there is also a rumor of an inbuilt camera coming to the Apple TV. I'm not sure about it. I don't know if that's still something that is going on, but that was the rumor as of like 6 months ago, which seemed to be the last update I could find. But I would say, if you're thinking about an Apple TV, don't buy one yet, because the current Apple TV is really old. And like, if you can wait to kind of like towards the end of the year, I don't know when it's going to come out, but like you'd assume it would come out before the end of the year if it's going to. I would wait personally, because I think this is the kind of device that you buy and keep for a really long time, and so if it feels like you're towards the end of the cycle, it's probably best to wait.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter like it does for other hardware.
Yep.
And the current hardware is fine. If you have a need now, you should just buy it. But if you can't wait, this seems like it's one of those periods where you should wait, because there might be an interesting variation on the hardware. I mean, we've thought about the idea of cameras, and since they built continuity camera into tvOS, like, wouldn't it be nice if there was an Apple TV, something that you could use as a camera? The problem is that people have their Apple TVs in all sorts of wacky places. Is it sort of a thing you put on your TV? that is an Apple TV box with a camera, maybe that would be a pretty radical change. Could they make an accessory that attaches to your thing, or you charge it and it's like a continuity camera that's standalone? That would be interesting too. I don't know quite what's going on there. And if I had to guess, I'm going to guess that it looks exactly the same and is not any different in any way other than some chip changes inside. But I would love to be surprised.
Tom asks, are you guys still using camera control? As we're approaching a full year with it, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are.
I almost never use it.
Not even to launch the camera?
No. I
wow.
forget that
so how do you launch the camera?
Swipe on the lock screen or tap on the camera app.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah. I use it to exclusively to open my camera. I tend not to take photos with it because I don't find the button press to be satisfying for taking images. Like I tend to tap it and then we'll press the button on the camera app itself. That is just something I've naturally gravitated towards over time. But I love it for opening. Having a dedicated button to open the camera before I even got my phone up to my face, like that's fantastic. Like I really like it for that. I said it before, I'll say it, I would like them to actually make that a pressure-sensitive button to take the pictures rather than a physical click to take the pictures. Because I just think that the pressing of that button is too aggressive for taking a photo, especially one-handed. You're moving the camera in a way that, like, I'm moving the phone in a way that I don't think is great for when you're taking a picture. So I would like that to be tweaked, but I love the addition of it as just a quick way to get to the camera from anywhere. So I'm a big fan of that. Josh asks, why do you think that it seems Apple is not interested in a foldable phone that is small and folds open to a normal size phone instead of going for the normal size phone that folds out to a large kind of tablet screen? It seems to me to be a better option to have the flipping phone. Is it just me, or am I an outlier? So the way to think of this is, if you're looking at Samsung's products, Apple is looking at making a fold rather than a flip, like a flip phone. I am someone who has used both of those products from Samsung. The flip phone model is interesting, but the folding phone model gives, I think, more benefits to more people. So it still is a regular phone that people want to use on the outside, but then they get to open it up and get a bigger screen, rather than the regular phone that you want to use requires you opening it first. And I think just the general thing is bigger screens always win. And so, like,
I think that's absolutely it. Bigger screens always win. I would also say, it's going to be expensive if you have folding hardware. What's the benefit of spending all that money? What's the benefit of that? At the end, you get a regular sized phone with a little bendy part. So the benefit is what? That when it's in your pocket, it's twice as thick and has a little bit slightly less, it's half the surface area. I just don't see it. Is that the problem? Is that if the phone was a little bit shorter in your pocket, it would be okay? Like, I just don't. For $2,000, like I think if you analyze it, that is a lot less clear than the idea that you can. And also, given Apple's assets of having spent so much time using or building the iPad, that being able to have a phone that turns into an iPad, you can see some benefit there. Whereas folding it in half, I've never really understood the value of that. Not to say that there aren't people who do, but like I could totally see Apple saying which one of these makes sense for us and picking the other one.
It's just a fun, novel thing. Like, the utility that there is, that people say there is, I don't think is that useful in the long term, which is like you can see small things on the outside display. There's always an outside display on these things. And then, like, the other thing is, like, you can easily take selfies with a good camera because you do them closed. And it looks cool, right? Like, people have seen the Olympians do that, right? Like in the Olympics. Yep. It just looked cool. Like, it's a cool... The flipping phone is a cool-looking phone. And, like, Motorola make a new Razr, which is a good phone. Like, it's fun. But that's kind of where it ends. Like, it's fun. It's like a fun thing. You close your phone. That's fun. And people are like, oh, it helps with focus. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I'm sorry. It just doesn't. We all just use our phones the same amount that we use them always. Like, it's just the way it goes. The actual folding phone, like a book, gives much more utility. And at the same time, you can build something that kind of feels like what people are already used to. And the flipping phone is just like, hey, here's like a novel thing. Like, I think that's kind of where it starts and ends, which is enough for some people. I don't think it's the right move for Apple for their first folding device to go that route. And Charlie writes in and says, I am a former Apple genius who has developed a complex about beta testing after seeing multiple iCloud data glitches over the years. I'm paranoid that a beta might corrupt my notes or health data. Is this a concern for you? Is there anything that you can say to make me a beta user again? Do you use your regular accounts?
I mean, anything I can say, I don't know. Is this a concern? No. I am one of those people. I do not have a beta iCloud account. I just go on the betas.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, I just do it. If I try to do backups of some stuff, right? Like, I have a full backup of my photos library and stuff like that, but like, I've never had a problem. It's never been a problem. So I don't know what to say about this. I may be a bad example, but I just don't care.
For me, it's the same. I have friends who have done this, and they have broken things horrifically. Like, serious data problems. This hasn't happened in a long time, but like, it can happen if you are installing, an OS that has apps that ties into things like notes and reminders. The apps might go crazy, and then it just messes everything up. Like, it can happen. I know that I won't get the most out of why I'm installing the beta if I am using not my device and then also a bunch of fake data. What I will say is, if you are worried about this, don't install the betas. Like, don't. Like, I am not worried about this, or I'm willing to accept the cost if something happens, and hope that my backup is strong enough, right? Like, I always feel like you kind of got to hope that your backup is strong enough, and that, it doesn't get polluted somehow by the weird things that might be happening. But yeah, so if you're worried about it, I would recommend not installing the betas at all. If you don't care and just want to YOLO it like me and Jason, then just install the betas and have a good time. If you would like to send us a question for a future episode of the show, or you have any feedback or follow-up about today's show, go to upgradefeedback.com. Thank you to our members who support us at Upgrade Plus. Go to getupgradeplus.com and you'll get longer ad-free versions of the show each and every week. If you would like to watch this show, you can go to YouTube, search for the Upgrade Podcast, and we'll be right there. I would like to thank our sponsors for this show, that is ExpressVPN, Sentry, ZBiotics, and Fitbod. But most of all, thank you for listening. Until next time, say goodbye, Jason Snell.
Goodbye, Mike Hurley.